just changing the color to match your logo or something like that.
The only tool you have is albums. Now, a photo can be in multiple albums. So, but there's no moving within an album. However, you can drag them around.
You can sort them kind of thing.
Customize the order, but there's no tagging within albums.
Definitely some room for improvement.
There's lots of room.
Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's Tinkering with Tech. Oh my goodness, what a great time we should have tonight! I see a lot of people out there in the audience, which is fantastic. I really appreciate everybody coming. I know, people are excited and probably saw my post in Google Plus about this one because I think people are interested in making the move somewhere, and Blogger is possibly an option. So, without further ado, I am going to introduce my. And everybody, tell me if you got sound out there. I want to make sure you can hear me. But anyway, my guest, Peggy K. Peggy K, say hello to everyone tonight.
Hi, everybody. Some of you I know from Google Plus and other places. Good to see you here.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. And I have to say, this is fantastic. And I really appreciate it because I know that when I asked you to do this, you're like, wow, what topic should we do or how should we bring this? And I said, let's just do Q&A because some people just don't know, or let's see if we can get some questions asked. And I know I have some questions. We were kind of talking in the green room beforehand. I was like, I kind of want to know some of this stuff too. So I'm sure I'll be asking you some questions. And I know I've been asking anybody and everybody I can, watching some videos. And that's the best way. A lot of times just go to a YouTube video, try and find out, see what other people are doing, that kind of thing. What do you recommend, just first off, with Blogger, anybody that's interested in this, let's say never done Blogger, what would you say is the best avenue to go or the best approach to take to it?
I think the best way to get started is set up your blog, and I can kind of go through, those steps, what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Set up your blog, start writing a post, see what it feels like. You can customize a whole bunch of different things, but you don't need to customize everything before you start actually posting, right? You can always go and customize later, because if you're like me, you might get distracted by trying to make everything pretty and exactly what size font and all this stuff. But you can adjust all of that later. The important thing is to get it set up, start writing a post, see how it works for you.
Gotcha. Perfect. So, okay, so that's a good start. I mean, that's a good. I think the key is try not to make it the fanciest blog right now. I think that's kind of what you're saying.
That would be my advice, because you can get sucked into customizing it and forget the blogging part of it.
Get caught in this rabbit hole, and it's kind of like creating a website. Either you have people to create your website for you, or you're a website designer, or put the content out there. So yeah, that's all great points. Great points. What about, okay, and I know not everybody's into Google Plus, but the ones that are, and some of the people that know that it's going away and stuff like that, do you think that's your opinion? Now it's just opinion here. Do you think that's a good way to go, or do you think there's, I know there's a lot of options.
There are a lot of options.
There are.
I think if your main use of Google Plus, or one of your main uses of Google Plus, was sharing information or sharing photos or sharing stories or anything like that, I think moving to a blog is actually probably a pretty good fit. And you can always share links to your blog posts on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever else you are. But your blog can be your home. And that's sort of how I use Google Plus. There's a lot of things I post directly there, but I've also always had my own blog where I would post longer things, and then I would share a link to it. So things stay on my home blog.
And kind of, in my opinion, this is just me, collections were kind of like blog.
Yeah.
They really kind of were. I mean, because people could respond if they wanted to. They had posts inside, but it was your content or something you put in there, which is kind of like a blog, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that I sort of used it, that the Google Plus collections, that way, where all of the posts were on a particular theme, and people then could subscribe to that collection specifically, or not, and if they weren't interested in all my content. So that's something to consider if you're coming from Google Plus to Blogger, whether you want to have different blogs for different themes, or if you want everything all in one place. Blogger does let you use labels for your posts, and then you can get a link to a label page. So one thing that you can do is you add labels to your blog post, and then you can actually make navigation in your blog where the navigation links go to a specific label, so people
Mm.
can see specific content that way.
Got you, got you. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, that's a good. That's a different. That's a neat way of looking at it too. Because I know I was not huge into collections. Okay, so that was not an
Mhm.
avenue for me. But I also have never used Blogger, so I never really got into that part of it. And I think those kind of things, those are the features in that. Whereas community is a totally different thing. Community is a whole different operation, a whole different. I mean, I know people that are going to Facebook, starting a group and that kind of thing. I know there's a lot of that going on as well. Some people even going to Discord or what. I mean, just all kinds of different things they're
So
doing.
many options for community.
Yeah.
Um, and I know, some people are thinking, well, can I sort of recreate my community on my blog? The answer is maybe. It depends on what kind of community you have. Um, if it isn't going to work if you have a community with thousands of people and they're all posting things. But if it's a
Hmm.
relatively small group of people, a blog can have multiple authors, and you could set it up to have, your community members all be authors. I can't remember what the maximum is. I think it may be 100
I
or
believe it
something
is.
like.
I believe you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And people can have discussions in the comments of the blog posts, and you can limit commenting to just the authors if you want.
Hmm.
Um, so there are ways to do that. And I think a lot of times there is a community in the comments. So, so blogs are about 20 years old this year. Blogger was founded originally 20 years ago, but that was before it was purchased by Google. And
Google,
there's a
right.
bunch of other platforms like LiveJournal, for example, that are about the same age.
Gotcha.
And there really was, at the time, communities that built up among the commenters of posts. Now, most of that shifted onto social media since then, but I think to a certain extent, that's maybe coming back a little to
Interesting.
personal websites and posts because, well, Google Plus is shutting down. A lot of people are unhappy with Facebook and things like that. And
Mm.
so it's an alternative place where you can, post publicly or privately. There's an option to limit who can see your posts as well. But um, I think you can get a certain amount of community on a blog. It's not the same kind of thing as having a community or a Facebook group or Discord or Reddit subreddit or anything like that. It's a different kind of setup, but I think it can be done that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. I think those are all great points. All right, let's go. If you guys folks out there have any questions, feel free to throw those questions out. I know Peggy will answer as much as she can, and as she
Yeah.
can to give insight and
And
all that kind of stuff.
and I thought, just to start out,
Yeah.
I wanted to go through some of the settings that some people should look at when they're first setting things up. So I can do that while people are thinking of
Yes.
questions.
Yes.
If you
Absolutely.
have a question, just shout out or virtually shout out. So if I share my screen
All right. Let's go to.
here. So this is one of my test blogs, so it's got all kinds of random stuff on it. But I wanted to show you the settings, and just to point out, this shows the settings for what it looks like if you're an administrator of the blog. If someone can be just an author rather than an administrator, and authors don't have access to all these settings. They just have access to being able to post and some other minimal settings for their identity. So the first thing I wanted to point out is Blogger doesn't have a dashboard that shows all of your different blogs. Instead, if you want to see all the blogs you have, you come up to the left corner with the blog title. When you sign into Blogger, the default is for it to open your most recently updated blog, right? So if you want to switch, you need to click the blog name, and it will show you all the blogs that you either administrate or are an author, and you can create a new blog there where you just enter a title, choose a blogspot address. You can add a custom domain later if you want, and then pick one of the themes for your blog. And one of the things I do recommend is picking one of the first 4 themes here: Contempo, Soho, Emporio, or Notable. These are the most recently updated themes. They have, they're responsive, so they adjust to different window sizes. They look good on mobile devices. They aren't quite as maybe customizable as like the simple theme, but that's part of what makes them really easy to look at on mobile devices, for example. There's not a lot of clutter that they do. So once you've created your blog, you can go into your settings, and I'm going to look at specifically the user settings. Now, these user settings are for all of your blogs in your Blogger account. And so if you change it while you're signed into one blog, it's going to change it for all of your blogs. The most important thing to look at is your user profile. You have 2 options, Google Plus and Blogger. If you use a Google Plus profile, that links to that basically says when your author byline in your blog posts will link to Google Plus. That obviously will have to change.
Yeah.
When Google Plus for consumers is shut down.
Yeah. So that doesn't, I know this was a question to someone posted before. That's not your Google account. That is specifically Google Plus, correct?
Right. Yes. So
Okay.
that's your Google Plus profile. It's linking to a profile. So
Right.
the other option is to use a Blogger profile.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to show, if you choose the Blogger profile option, you can set, you can choose which blogs are displayed. You can add your own picture. You can use a different identity than your Google account identity. So you can use a different name. You can use a different profile photo. This can be your Blogger identity. And it has a bunch of places where you can enter information. And when you look at the profile, what you can see is that it's pretty bare bones. This one doesn't actually show any blogs, but it shows you how long you've been on Blogger. It shows the information that you've chosen to share. Some of the things like your interests and locations are linked. And basically, if you click the link, it will show you other people's blogs where they've added the same interests or the same location.
Oh, that's interesting. So is that something someone can do on their own? I mean, is that something like, there's not a repository of like interest like that? Like you can't just go.
Well, yeah. So it's just going by what other people have put in their Blogger profiles, keeping in mind that a lot of people actually are using a Google Plus profile. Some people haven't filled out their Blogger profile. So it's kind of, a limited group, but it is a way to find potentially other bloggers with similar interests. So, and I just wanted to mention that right now, if you're using a Google Plus profile for your blog, don't just switch to Blogger. If you're using Google Plus comments, that's a problem if you switch from a Google Plus profile to a Blogger profile. So for right now, while it's not clear what's happening to the Google Plus features on your blog, I would suggest just waiting to find out what's happening before you move things along.
Yeah.
But comments on other Blogger blogs that will use that identity.
Right. I noticed someone asked, what do we do? Okay, what do we know so far about the fate of Google Plus integration with Blogger and profiles and comments, etc.?
So basically, right now, Blogger hasn't said anything.
Right.
I assume that this is something they're working on. And if you're active over on Google Plus, you'll know that Google Plus hasn't really said anything either.
True.
So hopefully soon. I mean, consumer Google Plus is scheduled to be shut down in April, so it's got to be soon.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, as soon as those changes, there are any changes or updates, it should be announced, and you should see a message within your Blogger account. One of the things that I wanted to point out is you notice, so this is looking, you see this giant yellow box at the top.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the notices are. You can dismiss them by clicking the X, but any significant changes that are happening will be announced there, and you'll see that within your Blogger account.
That's good to know.
And so it's strongly recommended, you read the information and understand it. And there's almost always more information in the Blogger Help Center.
Right. Dear Myrtle asked out there, she said, within 5 minutes of posting to Blogger, I receive a Google alert for the post, meaning the blog content has been spidered and will show up as a hint from a Google search. I don't know if she's making a statement or if that's she's just telling the process maybe.
I'm not sure. Hold on. Let me look at that.
Yeah. Or if she was actually asking a question, I'm not sure. But
whose question was this?
It was Dear Myrtle, about midway, about 6 comments ago or so. Yeah, I'm thinking about importing my collections into Blogger, but could not find where.
Okay. All right. So that's talking about the indexing of Blogger blog posts in the Google search results. It usually is fast. And because, one of the advantages of using Blogger is that it's integrated with other Google products and services. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to set things up on in Google Search Console, the Webmaster Tools Search Console, which is recommended to see how your things are doing in Google Search, and things are indexed pretty quickly.
Nice.
In my experience. No guarantees, though. I think I've seen people ask questions, why hasn't my post been indexed already? And sometimes it takes longer than others. But
Lola Anna asks, she says, I'm thinking about importing my collections into Blogger, but could not find where to do an import. That is...
okay. So let me show you how to do an import. That's a good question. It's not an... it's not a frequently used setting, so it's not that obvious. So when you're in your Blogger account, click Settings on the left menu, and then click Other. So that's basically just, I'm going to close this. Okay. So the other settings include import and backup, managing videos you've uploaded, and your site feed. So let me just show you, first of all, the backup content button. I recommend backing up your content periodically. This backs up posts, pages, and comments, not photos. But it's definitely good to have a backup of that. And because it's just text, the files aren't that large. So back up early, back up often. Gotcha. That way, if something does go wrong, you have a backup.
Yeah, you have a backup. So, okay. So when it's backing up, is it backing up your data, or is it actually backing up your blog? It's
backing up your blog.
Okay.
So it's backing up your pages, your posts, and the comments on your blog.
Oh, okay.
You can also do it through Google Takeout, but this is just an easy way to do it with a couple of clicks. Now, if you have exported a blog, or if you're using something like the Friends Plus Me Google Plus exporter to create a Google Plus export of a collection, you can then import it into your blog.
Okay, I got you.
So, you have your blog, you have to set it up with the title, the blogspot URL, and a basic theme. And then you can come to the settings, other, and click import content. You will have to solve a CAPTCHA to prove you're not a robot. But all you have to do is click the button that says import from computer, select the file you want to import. And it may take it depends on how many posts there are, but it may take a little while to do that. And they're all imported into your blog. And then you can just see them in the post list. Now, one important setting here where it says automatically publish all imported posts and pages. I recommend you untick that box because if that option is selected, as soon as the posts are imported into your blog, they're posted publicly.
Okay, got it.
If you unselect that option,
then you have a choice. Yeah,
they're saved as drafts. They're shown as imported in your post list, and then you can double check that you really want to actually publish all of them.
Gotcha.
Now, if you're doing it for a collection, it's probably not that big a deal because they were all public posts to start with. But if you did say an export of everything on your Google Plus profile, that could include private posts as well, which you wouldn't want to publish on your blog, presumably. And, you know, it may be that there are things you want to edit or change or tweak or whatever before you actually go public with all your posts.
Nice.
So my suggestion is that you untick the automatically publish all imported posts and pages. You can bulk publish from the posts page. So it's not like you'll have to go through and publish each imported post one by one.
Right.
This just gives you a chance to make sure everything looks okay before you publish it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So you can make a blogger private, right?
You can.
Yes, you can have it where you can send it to just specific people. You can make them all authors and then just have a private blog.
You don't have to make them authors. You can have blog readers. Now that setting, so let me see.
But an author allows them to put a post in there as well. If it's, let's say you're building a community and you wanted to just have everybody able to post to each other and that kind of thing. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. So that is, I think that's in the settings, post, comments, and sharing. And of course it's not. And I've forgotten where the setting is. Okay.
Yeah, share to go.
Actually, it's under basic. All right. So your basic settings, the title, description, there's a privacy setting that actually lets you control whether it's indexed on search engines. That's not the privacy of the visibility of the post. So if you make it private so that it's not listed on Blogger or not visible to search engines, people will still be able to read your posts.
Right.
What you need to do is go down to the bottom here where you have blog authors. And then at the very bottom, there's blog readers. Now this is set to public. If you click edit, all right, you can choose whether your blog is public, if it's private, so that only blog authors can see the posts,
right,
or if a limited set of readers can do it. And you can add readers by adding people's Google account email address. So they will have to be signed into their Google account.
Got it. Okay.
But that lets you make a private blog only for limited people. You can add authors. Oops. Basically, by entering their Google account email address and clicking invite, they'll get an email with a link that they need to click.
Okay, nice. Accept. Very nice.
And you can also limit commenting. So if you go to the posts, comments, and sharing.
Well, that's a good way to have it. People that had private communities over maybe on Google Plus could do this, use this as that, you know what I'm saying? A posting area for
it does.
A private community.
That is a possibility.
Yeah.
a private place where only invited people can post and only
Yeah.
invited people can
Can
see the
see it.
posts,
Yep.
and only invited people can do it. So if you just want to limit comments, though, you go to the posts, comments, and sharing settings. You choose the comment location. It can either be embedded on the same page or be in a pop-up window or a separate page for comments, or you can hide comments altogether if you don't want comments.
Interesting.
Who can comment? Anyone is anyone, including anonymous users. You can limit it to people with Google accounts, and I find that cuts down some of the spam.
Yeah.
If you do that.
Force them to have an account. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or you can limit it to only members of the blog, and members of the blog would be
where you have to approve them.
Yeah, the people that you've invited as authors.
Gotcha.
You can also change the comment moderation. Always. But the setting I usually like to use is the sometimes comment moderation, which lets you set it so that posts older than a certain number of days, the comments are always going to the moderation queue. Because I find that a lot of times, if it's a post that's more than a couple months old, it's much higher probability that it's going to be a spam comment than a real comment.
Oh, interesting. That makes sense.
And, you can choose where the email moderation requests go to, or you can just click comments on the left menu to moderate your blogger comments. Just a note, if you're using Google Plus comments, you can't do any of this moderation.
Right.
It's available.
Right, exactly. You're right there on theme. Why would someone go with a theme? Does it theme as in like, is it just a theme like, oh, I want pretty flowers, or is it a theme like, no, I want this across the top and I want this on the side and I don't want these, and or is it both? I mean, what kind of theme? What's the theme part of it mean in Blogger?
Well, so the theme is basically the way it looks. It's the general layout. It's the way the headings look. You can actually see.
But you can modify a theme, though, right?
You can modify your theme. So
okay.
Basically, you go to the theme settings on the left menu. You can choose a basic theme. So you see a layout that you like. You can pick that, knowing that you can modify most of it. And then you can go to the theme settings, and I will just show you that briefly. Sorry. I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. If you go to the theme page, it will show you what your blog currently looks like live on desktop and on mobile. And you can go down and you can pick a new theme. And so if you click the little magnifying glass icon, on top of it, you get a preview of what your blog will look like with the new theme.
Okay.
Knowing that you can also customize it. So once you've picked a theme, then if you want to customize it, you just click this orange customize button, and it opens a template editor. And different themes have different customization options. For this one, you can change the background. You can configure the gadgets, which are what the little widgets are called. And then there's advanced settings. Now, most of the customization is in advanced, where you can customize what the header posts, sidebar. It's mostly customizing the way the text looks. So the font size, the font color. You can also add CSS. Now, CSS is a way to add styling to web pages. There's a lot of tutorials online. So basically, you can use CSS to override any existing styles for your blog. So you can change the way lists look. For example, if you have it set, normally if you have a list, it has like a bullet next to each list item. You could change it so it's like a star next to each item or whatever. So that's the advanced settings you can do to make your blog look the way you want to. Now, you can also edit the theme directly, where it says here, edit HTML.
Oh, yeah.
Now, honestly, this is an advanced thing.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
don't know what that means,
Don't click
at
it.
the link, make sure that you make a backup before you edit anything. But
yeah.
if that's your thing and you want to get into really designing themes, you can edit everything
Gotcha.
directly if you want. Now, one thing I will mention too is because you can edit the theme, you can import third-party themes. There's a bunch of sites online that offer Blogger themes, and all you have to do is go to your theme page and then click the backup and restore button. And it says upload a theme from a file on your hard drive. You do that and it's installed. The only downside of that is a lot of times when Blogger introduces new features or changes things, the imported third-party themes don't always reflect that. So, if you're using one of the Blogger themes, it should update when there's something new. And a lot of times, the things that are new are things you may not want to fuss with yourself. So, for example, it's now required that there's a notice given for viewers who are in the European Union.
Oh, yeah.
Say that you're showing cookies. Blogger does that automatically.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about that unless you want to customize it.
That's kind of nice. That's kind of nice that they do that.
Yeah. Well, and obviously some of that is so that Google is complying with the law.
Yeah, that's true. They don't want to. They don't want to have that on the user. They'd rather take care of that ahead of time themselves and have that already on there.
Yes. Yeah. So
you could actually in looking in what you're saying and the things you were just showing me, you could actually make this look like a website. I mean, you could have like the tabs at the top, different places, and these kind of things. You could really make it look like a website.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, David Kutcher, who's one of the other Blogger experts, he designs websites. He's made some really great ones that are on Blogger that don't look like Blogger blogs at all.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
I don't have a link handy, but
no, that's fine.
If you're willing to really get into it, especially if you understand how the
code and all that stuff and extra,
you can do really good things. So you can customize it easily. The basic things, the colors, the pictures, like that. You don't need any special knowledge to do that. But if you want to really get into it, you can.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so some of the features, like it has archive. I know that's a very popular. A lot of people put that on there, the archive section. Can you actually add that archive to, say, another tab or another, whatever they call it, page, I think it is? Like just make your archive show up over there and not on your main page? Or no?
So you want it to only appear on certain pages?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's no. So the short answer, I think, is that yes, you can do that, but there's no built-in way to do it. That takes some more.
Okay. That's one of the questions. The other question I was going to have, let's say on your main page you just wanted to have certain posting or whatever, but then as it becomes older, I want to take that post off the main page and throw it into not an archive. I don't want to use the word archive because I don't want it to confuse it, but a page of, okay, here's our videos that we did this past month. Like my show, for example, I do it every Wednesday. I could just say, here's a page with all the shows, but I don't want it to show up on my main page. Is it possible?
Okay. So first of all, you can make a page with all your shows by using labels on your posts. Okay. So every label that you have, there's a label page for that that shows all the posts that have that label on it. Okay. So that's the easy part. I don't think I don't know off the top of my head any easy way to exclude
Okay.
specific posts
That's
from the
fair.
homepage. The default is just that it's a chronological list
Okay.
of your most
That's
recent
fair.
posts.
That's fair. I just thought like
You
over a
can-
period of time, here's where I'm going to
Mhm.
organize all these Wednesday shows, and then everything else is just my normal blog. That way, I mean, that's just my brain
Yeah.
thinking that way. You know, I'm just saying.
So there are some themes, like the theme I'm using for my blog, which is Notable. It has what they call a hero post on the top of the homepage. That's effectively like a pinned post that's
Oh.
always there at the top. So you can use that for information about your blog or
Oh.
whatever you like.
Is it like graphically? Like, I mean, is it a picture or like if you were to do like a weekly schedule
No, it
kind
looks.
of thing? Or is it just going to show up as kind of a link and then whatever else, or how's that?
It depends on how your theme looks,
Okay.
but it looks different from the rest of the post. So let me show you what it looks like
Okay.
on my blog. All right, so you can see on my blog that there's this cookie notice. Always fun. But you can see that, so at the top, this thing with the red,
Yeah.
that's the hero post, right?
Okay.
And so that is actually a post I posted, and then I configured it so that would always be at the top. And it's formatted differently than the other posts. The recent posts are all just white, right? So that stands out as a separate look.
Oh, wow.
So different themes have different options in terms of how that looks.
Okay. That's nice. Yeah. And that kind of has a website kind of look to it. I kind of like that. I like the way you had that. Kind of had the tabs at the top, kind of gives that kind of website kind of feel to it. I like that. That's nice.
So, you know, what Blogger lets you do is if you go to the layout options for your blog, there's basically widgets. Every new thing is a gadget, actually. Widgets, gadgets. You can add gadgets and you can drag them and move them around to actually change the setup of your blog. And one thing that you can do, you can make a menu using a pages gadget. So pages are static pages for rather than dynamic ones. If you have a Blogger page that doesn't show up in your home feed of posts, it's like a separate thing. And then you can use the pages gadget to say, I want these pages to be part of the menu. You can also add links to, like, for example, label pages as that, and then add that in your layout as the menu, for example, across the top of your blog, which is how mine is set up.
Right. I like that.
So there's a lot of things you can customize that way for navigation. Nice. So help people find your content on your blog.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. Adam asks, let's go out here real quick. Adam says, is there a theme that is especially good for a photo blog or maybe somebody that's just text heavy blog? I mean, either one.
So if you look at the themes, let me just switch back. There is, if you look at the modern themes, which are the first four here, Notable is the one I'm using. I think that that's actually good for, I like that because I mostly text. Emporio is designed to be good for photos. So it's got a hero post at the top. Now this looks really stupid because this is a test blog that just has random stuff on it. but it has a big image at the top, which you can set for
Mhm.
one of your posts. And then the other posts are shown basically great big thumbnails. So the image on the post is front and center on the blog homepage for the Emporio theme. So that is what I would use if I were making like a photo blog, because that's makes the images the highlight
Do they have like
of the blog's homepage.
Do they have like a slideshow gadget where you can bring photos in?
It does not.
I know.
Unfortunately,
You and I were kind of talking about that with Google Photos, just like.
Well, there's a lot of things happening there. There used to be a slideshow gadget through Picasso Web Albums. Picasso Web Albums is gone, so that's no longer an option.
I can give you a recommendation on that I know Chris Gould, we talked about her. I know she does it on her blog. What she does for a slideshow is a slideshow, a Google Slides, and puts photos in there and just makes them go through, and it just runs whenever they start up. So that's a great alternative. Probably not the answer you're wanting to hear, but it is a good way of doing
that. It's great. So Blogger does let you add basically any HTML widgets or gadgets to your blog posts or to your blog's layout. If you want to just add code, for example, for a Google Slides slideshow, you add an HTML gadget to your blog's layout and just paste the code in there, drag the gadget to where you want it in the layout, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's really customizable if you want to do that.
Andrew asked on your, I think you called it the hero post. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's different from, he's asking, is that different from a featured post?
Oh, it's the same as a featured post.
It's the same as a featured
post. I suspect that we're talking about the same thing.
Okay. All right.
So basically, it's up at the top of the homepage. Featured there. It stands out because it's formatted differently than the rest of the posts on the page.
I got you. Lil Lan asked what the name of that theme was, and I think Andrew told her Notable. Notable was the name of that theme.
What about the theme? Sorry?
She asked what was the name of that theme.
And Emporio is the one I was talking about. Emporio. But if you go, if you sign into Blogger and click theme on the left menu, you'll see all the themes there, and you can you can have a preview of what your blog will look like using that theme, and it's easy.
Does it use your existing data to give you that? Like if you already have a theme going and you want to switch themes, will it keep all your...
Yeah, you just go to the theme thing and you switch the theme.
It'll keep your info though, and so you can see what your info is going to look like?
There may be some gadgets that don't work in all themes, so it's always a good idea to back up what you have. But for the most part, all you need to do is switch to a different theme. All your content is still there. Nice. Most of your gadgets should still be there. They'll just be laid out differently, and maybe have a different font, a different color. But that's the nice thing using the built-in themes. It's just easy to switch if you want to try something different.
Right. Good. Emporio. Yeah, they got it. Okay. That's what.
And again, there are third-party,
themes that you can
develop themes for Blogger, and you might find something else you like. It's just easier in the long run, I find, to use one of Blogger's themes and just kind of tweak it to the way I want it to look.
What about, how do you feel, in your opinion, Blogger-wise, as far as security? I mean, I know it's Google, so Google I know is very focused on that as well. What's your what are your thoughts being a Blogger person?
I think your Blogger blog is as secure as your Google account is secure.
Okay, that's good to know.
Now,
take that for what it's worth.
There isn't any. Sometimes you read about exploits, sometimes WordPress or other content management platforms where people are injecting code and doing things like that, and I've never heard of that happening with Blogger. Right? It's the one thing you have to be careful with is if you are using a third-party gadget or a third-party theme, sometimes there is malicious code. So if what you're doing is adding, some sort of Twitter embed, that's going to be fine, right? Because it's a reputable source. But there's a lot of gadget makers who do things like, word of the day or something, and it looks like it's kind of a fun thing, or it's some animation or something like that. And what people find sometimes is that they put this widget on their blog, it's working fine for a while, and then on the back end, the widget developer changes something and the blog may start redirecting to another site or something like
exactly.
that. And the fix is always remove the bad widget. So
interesting.
You have to really be careful about any third-party code.
Yeah,
that
anytime you bring
on your
something
site.
in, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's like anything. That's like a website, though, too. Same thing. If you're doing a website and you're doing the same, I mean, it's all the same as far as that goes.
Not unique to Blogger.
Right. Right.
The other thing that you need to be sure of course, is keeping your Google account secure. And we do see in the Blogger help forum a lot of questions. First of all, people who don't remember their username and password.
Yeah.
So make a record of it somewhere.
Yeah,
Even
right.
and Blogger's been around. Blogger, I think Google purchased Blogger in like 2004 or so. Yeah. And so there's some really old blogs there where people haven't
done anything,
signed in for 10 years. And so they don't remember. And so try and keep that secure. Keep your Google account secure. Add the 2-step authentication if you can. We do occasionally see cases where people have had their Google account compromised, and people then can go in, they can add new administrators to your blog and remove you as administrator of the blog. And then there's really not any recourse for that if it happens. So keep your Google account secure.
There you go. Perfect. Hey, I don't want to take too long. It's almost been an hour, and I'd like a little bit of my community to come in just to chat, because we have a paid-for community that I like to bring them in afterward and give you a chance to chat with them, or a chance to chat with whoever our guests are and everything.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, first of all. I really do appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this and coming in and answering some of these questions that people have, because I know it's on their mind right now. A lot of stuff going on, and you're very knowledgeable and you know a lot of stuff. I'm sure I'll bend your ear more as I get more involved in it, because I know I kind of told you beforehand, I'm going to probably go with a Google site with a Blogger included in it. So I'm excited about that and trying that. So that's the approach, and I really do appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. I love having you on as a guest.
Do it and answer people's questions.
Yeah. One thing I might want to do, and if you're game with this, is maybe in a couple months, right as Google Plus is leaving again, maybe do this again. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
just
so, more to talk about,
yeah,
sure.
I think so. I think more people will have more questions then too. And I think it'd be great, because I know how helpful you are, and I know you're that type of person. I appreciate you taking time out to talk to us, though, because I think that's a big deal. I really do think that's a big deal, and I appreciate it. I think,
and part of the reason why I like to help is because I have been in the position where I need assistance and I'm looking for things, and it's hard to find answers. So this is, partially just giving back.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you.
And if people have questions, I still am on Google Plus for the duration. And I'm also on my blog, peggyktc.com, and maybe I'll see people around.
There you go. That'd be awesome. Thank you so much. I'll be ending the show, folks. And remember, community members, I'll put a post in the community, as long as we still have a community. I will post it in there. You guys can come in and talk to Peggy for a little bit. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We do appreciate you. And thanks again.
Yeah, thanks,
Peggy.
everyone.
Thank you, Peggy.